Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the co-founder of Digital Leadership Associates. I'm also the author of the book Social Selling, Influencing Buyers and Changemakers. With me today, I have Thomas Ross. Thomas, you're the president of Exponential Sales. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about sales, marketing, working in silos, and what should happen in 2017 and the way that we think that that's changed. But before we get into that, Thomas, explain to people where they can get hold of you.
Well, thank you, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to be on your show. That's pretty exciting. They can reach me at tross@exponentialsales.com. They can certainly visit our site at exponentialsales.com, and they can get us on our Twitter, which is also Exponential Sales, via our Twitter feed. So I think that gives everybody lots of ways to reach us.
Okay, so explain to me, Thomas, what does Exponential Sales do?
So Exponential Sales has been around for quite some time, almost 2 decades, I'm afraid to say. But we are an outsourced sales and marketing organization that is now leveraging the power of social selling as part of our program and part of the training that we offer clients.
So when you say outsource, what do you mean by that? Because I think sometimes in the States and in the UK that may have a different meaning. But so you come in and help sell for people, or you manage the sales team, or how does that work?
Well, it can be both of those things, but it can be many others as well. So we really come in and fix organizations from a sales perspective. We are a sales company. So the first thing we want to do is we want to understand what they're doing today and where they want to be and what they want to do. And then we take the steps to fix them, which very often means sales training. It can mean updated sales process. It can mean working in the field with their teams. It can actually mean helping them get customers. So it can be any one of those things. We are a very hands-on, outsourced sales organization.
Okay, good. Great. That sounds really interesting. So one of the things that I know that we've talked about in the past is about the way that the market, or the way that you feel that the market has changed, and the fact that people are buying things differently, and there needs to be we as sales and marketing organizations need to react to that. But what is it that you're seeing out there in the marketplace right now?
Yes, and we've seen it for quite a number of years, and it's been getting stronger and stronger, as you know. And certainly the method by which we develop leads and we develop potential contacts and people we want to do business with has changed radically over the years. As new technologies come in, the ways in which we communicate improve. Problem is, if we don't keep up with those technologies, our ways of communicating did not improve. So what we're about today with respect to updating sales process is to include the era of social that we've entered and that many still haven't figured out we're in. And we're helping them learn to use that channel much more effectively from a sales perspective, and not just a marketing perspective, but in fact a sales engagement perspective. And that's where the real magic comes in.
And because quite often I'm often read and hear that social selling is actually all about demand generation and marketing. You're not saying that, are you? Because you're saying it's part of a sales engagement.
Yes. So at no other time that I'm familiar with, and I've been at sales and marketing for a little while, we'll say, have I ever seen the importance of the integration of sales and marketing as strong as it is today. So because of social and the impact and the strategies that come with it, marketing and sales need to be integrated like they've never been integrated before in order to gain the power of both by using social as the engine.
So if we have, let's take a social selling process. So if you've got salespeople that are engaging with people on social, then they need content. Now, it could be they write it themselves. Let's not go there today. But it could be that actually they get marketing to actually create that content. So there's a need, therefore, for content to be created that salespeople would actually be proud to share.
Absolutely, and there's no question about that. The challenge has always been that sales and marketing for many years, decades perhaps, have worked as separate silos in many organizations, and therefore they don't communicate. Marketing is doing its thing, generally by way of branding and positioning of the organization, whereas sales is doing its thing with respect to developing customers and prospects and going through hopefully a powerful sales process. But the two did not necessarily meet unless they passed by each other in the hall, and then they usually didn't say nice things to each other. So what we need to do is we need to work on that. And in fact, marketing needs to understand the types of content that sales needs by way of working socially. And sales needs to communicate with marketing that same thing. What do we need? What's going to be effective with customers? And how can we make that communication powerful so that it in fact helps us develop prospects and customers?
And so I mean, I was involved in a merger of sales and marketing to a certain extent at my previous organization. And I think the first thing that we needed was to have a common language, because the classic thing is, what's a lead? And,
sure.
and if you had 10 people in a room, you'd get 11 different definitions.
Right.
So we actually came up with this common language of so an MQL, a marketing qualified lead, an SQL, a sales qualified lead, so that we didn't have people coming back from conferences with a whole bunch of business cards, which were usually quite meaningless, that we just, as salespeople, we would just put in the bin and be told, 20 business cards is 20 leads. It's not. It was just 20 contacts.
Right.
Are you seeing that as well? And
absolutely, and that's true not just in sales, but in any area. Very often sales is missing some of the basic tools that it needs to function properly, like CRMs and proper sales process. And when it comes to language, organizations don't often integrate and create a culture that integrates that language in a way that people can communicate effectively. At the end of the day, no organization will grow if they don't have sales. So if the language salespeople and their customers are using is different than everybody else in the organization, you've got a challenge and you haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah, we certainly found bringing sales and marketing together, certainly for the first 6 months. It was a big organization and things didn't happen very quickly. But certainly for the first 6 months, it was pretty tense because sales were actually putting up their hand and saying, actually, we don't like your event, the event that you're organizing. And marketing would then go away and be offended, and we'd have to go around and hug them. And then they go, actually, yeah, it was a rubbish event. And then we said, and then someone, well, if you were going to organize an event, what would it look like? And then there was like a happy get together, and we actually started them. And then what happened was that people started sharing plans. So you always got this thing where it was, we've got this event in 2 weeks. Sales, you need to help us. It's like, well, you never told us about this event. And then there was just a certain amount of sharing going on. And then actually it felt good working together.
Oh, sure. It becomes fun because we're all working on the same goals, hopefully.
Yeah. And all of a sudden it does. And so that after that pain, where there was a certain amount of people storming out of rooms and stuff, and after we wiped the blood off the walls and stuff like that, actually, we actually enjoyed it. And there was and we, those people down the office, they're actually all right.
Sure. Sure. And as you say, the more you do that, the more the language starts to breach those barriers, and everybody's talking the same with the same objectives. And that's the number one goal. Sales and marketing need to understand and work to the same objective. And when they do that, all sorts of great things start to happen.
So have you seen there being a change in the way? So not only does there need to be a change in the way that people sell, is that because that people buy differently?
Yeah, so there's a number of things that have changed. Communication and the availability of information has in fact changed the buyer profile dramatically to the point of being non-recognizable to what might have been prevalent during the days of that TV show, The Mad Men comes to mind. That just doesn't exist anymore. That's like talking about a different age at this point. So we need to understand that buyers are buying differently. They're getting more information than they ever had before. But there's a caveat to that. And there was a recent article by Harvard Business with respect to this, showing that there's so much information that people are actually getting stuck in the mud with all that information. And rather than being able to make faster decisions, they're making much slower decisions and in many cases, fewer decisions. And that's not good. And that's because sales has not done its job of helping those buyers get to what they need quickly and in a way that's effective for them to buy. So it's not just about having information. It's about being led to the areas that are going to be effective for you so that you can do that quickly and efficiently.
And if you think about people buying enterprise IT, which is the background that I have from a business to business perspective, those people probably haven't bought whatever it is they're buying before. So they're probably if they're buying a new accounting system, or they're buying a new human resources system, for example, they may have not bought one before, and they actually don't know the pitfalls of what they need to go through and the process that they need to go through. They also, if you look at, there's a chart which is the marketing technology, the MarTech 5000. There are 5,000 applications and products that see themselves fitting in marketing technology. The customer is totally confused. Then we add to that all of the different types of content that can be available. If what CEB will basically say, that the customer is absolutely doesn't know what they need to be doing, and actually guiding the customer down the process, even though that they've actually gone online and actually self-educated themselves, there still is a role for salespeople to do kind of what we've always done, which is actually help the customer or empower the customer to buy. Now, none of us like to being sold to. So it's not like I can't go, hey, Thomas, I've got some of this. Can you buy one of these? So you back off. But it's actually empowering the person and helping them. Is that what you're seeing?
Absolutely. And I would add to that, that salespeople today, more so than ever before, need to be the experts in their fields and the experts around the products and their services, so that when they are leading and talking to the buyers, they can do so in a credible and professional way, such that the buyer has the confidence in the recommendations they're making and move forward accordingly. When a buyer has confidence, either in the individual, the organization, the product, and or the service, they make decisions and they move forward. When they don't have confidence, either A, because they didn't know enough about it themselves, or there's so much information they're overwhelmed, then things slow down dramatically or don't happen at all. So sales is much more important now in that sense than it ever was before. So the idea that social is going to remove and in fact drop salespeople by the thousands in terms of their need and usage in the market is ridiculous. In fact, for those salespeople that learn how to use social effectively and productively, we're going to need more and more of them to help buyers make the right decisions and even learn about things they wouldn't have learned about otherwise in a productive way.
I totally agree with you, Thomas. This thing about it's going to put salespeople out of business is rubbish,
right?
And in fact, if we take let me just call things that happen pre-social old school. I don't mean to put it in
sure.
But actually, we need people with those skills.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this isn't about us and them or cold calling or social. What social allows me, which is, I've been in sales for, I'm only supposed to admit 25 years. There's loads of, all I've done is take what I did 25 years ago and put it in a social world.
Right.
So someone put somebody put an article out on LinkedIn about how what we need to do is take content and put the right content and interesting content in front of our customers. Yes, but we were doing that 25 years ago.
Sure.
Because I used to take newspapers or magazines or whatever, cut out articles, put them on with compliment slip, which you don't see nowadays, put them in an envelope and say, hey, Thomas, just seen this, thought you might be interested. And so I was posting on LinkedIn 25 years ago.
Right.
And those people, I was nurturing those people by giving them insight and information. I didn't know it was called that at the time. I just thought it'd be a good idea to keep in touch with customers.
Sure.
But we're actually doing that. We now do that in a different way, but at scale. Exactly. You're in Canada, we're in the UK. We're talking. Right. We have technology that allows us to do that.
That's exactly right. And our ability to reach many more people in much more effective and productive ways has never been as powerful as it is today. So in fact, the only thing that's going to remove salespeople is the salespeople themselves, because they won't have kept up with what's available to them, and they'll simply get beaten to the punch by competitors that have. Right? So it's not a question of needing and salespeople going away. It's a question of salespeople staying with programs that are effective for their customers and helping them make those decisions quicker.
And there's what I can see is that you can reach people quicker and higher on social. You can have if people look at your LinkedIn profile and you look like a spammer, you look like a spammer. But if you're a credible person on LinkedIn and on digital, people will want to have a conversation with you, and you can get in very high by doing that. And then what you can do is you can close them, like we've always done. And and when all of it, I get people coming to me every single day, and they all sound the same. I've got the biggest, the fastest, the longest, the short, and it's like you sound all the same,
right?
If you've got somebody that's outstanding, is sounding different, and is telling you something insightful that you don't know already, you're going to buy from them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason why you don't maneuver yourself and close the deal like we always did, and doing it ahead of your competition. And social allows you to get higher, quicker, and close faster than traditional means.
Social allows you to develop that confidence and that credibility much quicker than traditional methods would have. Instead of jumping on a plane every time we want to meet with a client, we can do what you and I are doing right now. And have these kinds of conversations, whether through webinar or otherwise, and actually take, in effect, 50 to 60% of the sales process out with respect to those timescales, and get to that point of credibility and confidence, so that the buyer is quickly able to make decisions and move forward much faster. So yes. I couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, yeah, and so going back to the beginning of the conversation, which is, here we are in a situation where I believe we're in the golden age of sales.
Right.
Never before have we been in an ability to salespeople to stand up in front of people and show what great professional people we are, not manipulators and stuff. And what we have is this situation where buyers don't want to be sold to because of what's gone before. How is it that how is it as business leaders that we can make sure that we're bringing sales and marketing together, and we're taking this opportunity and using it for the good of our organization?
Well, that's the bigger picture. So it's not enough that your salespeople become social. The organization itself has to have that same profile and has to be just as social, has to be reachable, has to be credible, has to be accessible, and the information that needs to be available needs to be as such. And the organization itself has to communicate internally on that same social level, or they won't be as effective externally. So it's not something that happens just in the sales department or just in the marketing department. It needs to happen throughout, as you well know, the organization. And the organization needs to be behind it and understand it.
And is that happening out there, or are you seeing, is that message still hitting home, or are you seeing people that are either understand it and then not stepping up, or what is it? What's going on now?
Well, I think it's a mixed bag. I think that some industries, retail in particular, have probably grasped and really gotten a hold of that concept sooner than business itself, especially when it comes to B2B sales. And in fact, B2B, I would say, is much further behind and is only starting to learn that now and to really understand the power that it brings. And, the incredible thing about it is, not only can you improve and dramatically, significantly grow sales by utilizing this tool or this series and sets of tools, but you can also cut your costs dramatically by doing so. So once you show that kind of an equation to business, and you show them the power it has and the way they can better utilize resources from a people or a cost standpoint, the more positive and supportive they are of that process. But in answer to your question, there's a long way to go.
So you see, there's a real business case in terms of less is more. That people can actually do more with less by using social within the business and within the sales process.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that a lot of businesses are still very much missing that boat, and that's what we're here to help them do.
Okay. I mean, I'm still seeing marketing departments. I mean, I had someone the other day say they didn't want to meet with me because they were too busy sending out newsletters
Sure.
than talk to me about social.
Right.
which I thought was kind of funny because, you know, with newsletters, probably they spend a lot of time doing that. I would be surprised if actually anybody read it because, you know, email is becoming less and less effective because people get so many, they just delete them all. Whereas, you know, we can talk and we can have and engage with our customers on social and actually kind of do it for free, because when we're on Facebook or on Twitter, it's only our time it's actually costing us.
Right. Right. And to the extent that we get good at that process and understand how we're helping and giving the customers the opportunity to learn as they go, the quicker and faster and easier it is for both parties.
So there's a chain of pubs in the UK, quite a big chain of pubs called Wetherspoons.
Right.
The story is so what they've done is that because there is now a legal requirement in Europe, or there will be in 2018, but with a lot of these things, it's now assumed to be in place, that you need to have and understand it, not just that the person has opted into your database, but also the method in which they opted in. And you need to hold that as a legal document.
Mm-hmm.
And so what Wetherspoons have actually done is that they had a database of 18,000 people and they've just deleted it.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do is that they're going to do they're not going to email people. They're just, all of their customer interactions are going to be through social.
Sure. And that same set of rules and guidelines are now very much in place in Canada
right.
under our own term and less so in the U.S. But the fact is that is becoming more of a set of rules that we all need to get with. But at the end of the day, we would only do that on the basis of their effectiveness and the productive results that we would get out of it in the first place. And as you're pointing out, that's just not there anymore. And the return on investment and the return with respect to the results is very poor with those kinds of programs. So to go through all that additional energy and cost and effort for less and less results doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm actually surprised that more firms haven't taken that position, and that they seem to be the first who have made such a public announcement, which I think is going to just reverberate everywhere.
I think there's there's talk about 30-40% of the marketplace doing that.
Sure.
And that we see that as a way of driving people to use social.
Sure.
And that will mean that people will need to use it in a sorry for the people watching this, but actually people are not really bothered about your company or your products or your services until they're a customer.
Right.
And therefore, if you're talking about them, they're kind of not interested.
Right.
And actually doing something that's not that and standing on a quite often marketing is like standing on a top of a building shouting about your products and services through a megaphone.
Mm-hmm.
And people kind of aren't really interested in it. And doing anything else than that is hard work.
Sure. Yeah, no, agreed. I think the idea of what social is widely misunderstood. And it applies to any level, all the different levels that we've talked about. But the bottom line is that once you comprehend and you understand the power of social in terms of its communication and its ability to work with all of these areas, that's when you can really take advantage of it and do well by it.
Thomas, this has been fascinating. Thank you. It's been great talking to you.
You too.
Remind everybody again where they can get hold of you.
So the best place to get a hold of me is at tross at exponentialsales.com. Of course, you can get us through our website, exponentialsales.com, and you can reach us both on our LinkedIn profile as well as our Twitter, which is twitter.com, Expo Sales Ltd.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thomas, it's been great talking to you. Have a good day.
Too,
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.